Good afternoon. Welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HA Network. Wednesday, November 29th. Happy birthday to Zach Swanson. Coming in last place this year in fantasy. People, do not forget Swanee. Frank Granito in studio with Kevin Coleman and John Kovac. We have got the quarterfinals of the 2017 CIAC football tournament under our belt. 4 FCX schools have advanced. We got to see one of them in action last night, and they looked a lot like the #1 team in the state last night, boys.
I thought the Greenwich defense stepped up big last night. They had a great performance. It's just those second and third quarters, I thought, John, took forever just because of the penalties. And we talked about it during the broadcast. You guys even asked me if I was throwing laundry on the field.
I'm still not convinced you were. Where was your pocket square last night?
It was right here. Don't worry.
What color was it?
It was a blue. It was a blue color. Pocket square. Don't worry. It wasn't yellow.
I'm not buying that. No, a ton of penalties slowed things down. Really, the game had the flow we expected in the first quarter. Greenwich comes out, bang, bang, 2 passes down the field. They're on the board. Prep puts a play together or a drive together. They shoo away.
Hold on. It wasn't exactly a drive. That's right, Kev. They had the ensuing kick return, John, return to the opponent's 20-yard line. They had to go for it on 4th down, get to 1st and goal, and then on 4th and goal from the 2-yard line, they fumbled the football. So while they ate up about 3-4 minutes of clock time, and yes, they got all the way down to the 2, I don't know that I would qualify it as a drive, but they had a big opportunity to answer.
They had a huge opportunity to answer, and in talking to a longtime prep coach after the game, and he didn't disagree with me, I said it was very much like the 2006 Prep Greenwich game, which I coached in, where Prep put together a long drive after taking the kickoff, got down inside the 5, fumbled, and then Greenwich with the quick strike then after the drive, long run, they score, and they never look back. It was very similar to that game, and the feeling is it might have been a little bit of a different game had Prep cashed in on that first possession.
Oh, I certainly think that. I've been thinking about it all day now, just back and forth. It is Prep for real? What was this team, true identity this season? One, Kev, John and I are still baffled by this. You made the point during the game. The officials talking about a 30-second play clock because it did feel as though Prep was in the huddle for minutes at a time. I understand that's the way they play, but at a certain point in time yesterday, John, they needed to change the pace up. They had to try something else because with all the penalties, they just tortoise-like pace. They never allowed themselves to get into any kind of rhythm.
They didn't get into any flow. It was very choppy. It was, I think there were times they became a bit predictable. They're going to fake jet here. They're going to lose yardage faking jet here. They're going to counter off at a fake jet here. I would have liked to have seen a few different things, but I don't know that even if everything really had to go their way and then some to hang with Greenwich. I think you've got a Greenwich team that's very well positioned to continue this run 2 more games because they did a lot well last night.
Well, we were sitting behind some of the senior parents in the stands, and they heard that South Windsor knocked off Naugatuck, so they were feeling good about that upcoming matchup in the semifinals. And while at the end of the day it was a 21-point difference, for a good chunk of time there, Kevin, it didn't feel that wide of a gap. Both defenses really stepped up. As good as Prep's defense was yesterday, I was impressed with the way Greenwich allowed themselves to not only compete at the line of scrimmage, but on 1st down, they dominated the line of scrimmage. The majority of Fairfield Prep's drives started with a negative play on 1st down.
Right, and that's where Tyson Comizio comes into play. Once you hand him the ball, that guy can run for a good chunk of yards. He can get through, that defensive line, break through, and even break through tackles too. He's an impressive runner. But 2 other guys I was impressed with on the defensive side of the ball was Jack Feda and Tyler Blizzard. You look at that first drive when Fairfield Prep was down inside the 5-yard line on the 1, and Tyler Blizzard stripped away and got the fumble and gave Greenwich the ball back, still up 7-0. That stood out to me. But Zachary Moore, too, I thought on special teams, kicking the ball too. We saw him during the warm-ups. He was impressive, but the field goals were impressive. The punting was impressive by him. That's someone who stood out to me who I don't think gets enough recognition.
And I'm glad you did mention that because the punting was tremendous from the young man. But those 2 field goals, John, played huge parts in this game because it's a 7-0 game. Then, after a couple of stalemate drives, Prep's able to respond. They missed the extra point. 4 minutes to go. Moore hits a big field goal. That makes it a 4-point game. So you've got to at least surrender another touchdown to Prep, which it didn't look like they were going to be able to do. Then, before the half, he throws the fake field goal attempt, almost completes it for what would have been, as you called, the smartest call in the history of football.
I loved that call.
It was a smart play. No, I agree.
It was because I don't know that I ever seen anybody do it. But why not? Because a team defends a field goal attempt differently than they would a pass. They would have lined up with a pass defense and, everything normal. Instead, come out, line up for the field goal. You still have the chance to try the field goal again if the snap goes bad. And then to turn it into a fake, and now it's just something that South Windsor's got to think of now when they practice preparing for Sunday's game.
What did you think of that onside kick that they pulled in the second half there? Did you like that call?
Well, they do it all the time. I mean,
I was just curious if you, at that time of the game, did you like that idea from Johnny?
I don't think they care.
Okay.
If you think it's right, if I think it's, they are going to do it when you're not thinking about it, and that's what makes it successful.
Yeah.
Greenwich succeeds on the onside kick because, one, I think they got anywhere from 8 to 11 guys out there who can pull off the onside kick. And B, they catch you off guard with it. And that is a hallmark of them. I don't think you can predict when they're going to do it or how.
Right.
You knew it was coming eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Final score in this one, 27-6 in favor of the top-seeded Cardinals. Let's look at the highlights from their quarterfinal victory.
Mir and the offense take to the field for the first time. Wouldn't be surprised, John, if we saw the Cardinals maybe try to take a shot here early on. And shift some men around out of the empty set.
No movement with the motion or a shift.
As Mir now trying to loft one over the middle, and he's got a man on the first play of the game. Stephen Bennett out of the slot was wide open in the middle of the field. And just like that, John, a huge hitter for the Cardinals. Staying in the empty set again. Here alone in the backfield. Takes the snap. Once again lofting one downfield. Harris wide open, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown.
Both those plays, 2 things happened. Your receiver got out of the slot. Nobody picked him up. But number 2, that Greenwich line kept Muir clean and gave him all kinds of time, particularly on that second pass.
Back into a more traditional personnel set. It's a 10 personnel look with 1 back, 4 receivers. Stepping up, heading for the end zone and in for the touchdown. Will Lucas has the Jesuits within a point. His long on the season is 43. This one from 41. Snap, the hold, the kick are good.
I think he had that from 45 or 46.
Second and goal. This time they do go to Comizio. He's heading for the end zone, and it's a Cardinal touchdown.
A fired up Greenwich coaching staff, and if a guy deserves a touchdown tonight, it's Tyson Comizio.
It falls on to the Fairfield Prep defense. Muir in the gun, flanked by Comizio, as he's going to drop back to pass. Taking a shot over the middle. He's got Harris wide open. Touchdown, Cardinals.
Just in case you forgot that Greenwich bases a lot of what they do on the pass, they'll remind you.
So we saw there 2 scores for Jeremiah Harris. A big day for the senior wideout. He also played excellent defense yesterday, John. A couple of great hits on the corner coming up from that outside position.
Prep many times tried to get the corner. They stretched plays horizontally, tried to get out to the D gap, get way outside. And I can remember 2 specifically because I could still see the big hits where Harris just came out and shut it down.
He sawed guys in half last night, which is exactly what you're looking for from your cornerbacks on the perimeter. We're going to take a break here on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, we'll look at some of the other quarterfinal matchups from last night, and we'll still get you ready for Sunday's semifinal games. That's next on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
Yeah, Dad.
Kyle, I need you to update the financial statements.
I took care of that yesterday, Dad.
Mac, I need you to get those deals approved.
They're all done, Mr. Miller.
Jeff, I need you to order lunch for the meeting. They can't do a thing without me.
Right now, lease a 2017 Sentra S for only $97 a month.
I'm never going to retire.
Bankwell combines the best personalized service with high-tech banking features for our customers' convenience. We pride ourselves on being a strong community partner. You don't settle for average in anything else you do. Why settle for an average bank? Don't just bank when you can bank well instead. Visit mybankwell.com for more. Manfredi New Canaan is celebrating 3 exceptional years selling Rolex watches and fine jewelry to the Fairfield County community. We appreciate all our loyal clients and look forward to welcoming and helping you discover the perfect gift to celebrate life's most important occasions.
At Galt, we always put you first. As your full-service home heating partner, we provide expert delivery, installation, and maintenance for all your heating needs with knowledgeable, friendly professionals that give you peace of mind 24/7. Galt Family Companies, you first since 1863. At Galt.
Welcome back to Nutmeg Sports. Frank Granito in studio with Kevin Coleman and John Kovacs, looking back on the quarterfinal round of the Football State Championships. And let's go to the number 3 seed in this tournament, guys, the Darien Blue Wave. The big storyline here last night, Jack Joyce returning to start at quarterback, and he led the Blue Wave to a new winning streak, the count now at 1 after the 30-10 victory over East Hartford. The Blue Wave offense looking like the Blue Wave offense again last night, John.
Yeah, just took care of business. They were in sync. They had their quarterback back. They had time to game plan, and I think that was the biggest factor in what happened Thanksgiving. You could have game planned better if you knew you're going to be missing players earlier than the night before the game. Once it's the night before the game, you're really stuck. You can't game plan around it. You know 3 days in advance you're going to be missing a guy. All right, this is what we're going to run, and this is what we're going to scrap because he's just not as good as doing it as guy number 1 is.
Oh, no, I agree with John. I think you look at what happened on Thanksgiving morning. Not easy for a coach to do when the night before you get told the news that your starting quarterback won't be playing. Not only that, your starting wide receiver, starting safety, and as well another wide receiver won't be playing. That's not easy to do for a coach and to adjust like that and get younger players adjusted.
Without time.
And look what happened. The first play of the game, pick 6. But it's good to see that Darien moved on from the Turkey Bowl. You know, put in the past, they went on, got a nice result here in the quarterfinals, and move on to the state semis.
It sounds like they're using it as a rallying point, really.
And they have to. At
Yes.
this point, they have to. That's
the only way you can
a team
move on.
like this, and the expecting to win is at all-time high.
Right.
That's what you need to do, because we've seen teams who have a winning tradition and know that this is a team that's always we're used to winning. When they get a loss like that, that could damage not only the program, the season, and going forward. So it's good to see that. You're right, John. They're using that as a rallying cry because now they can move on from that Turkey Bowl and move on to hopefully the state finals.
And even without Joyce, had they prepared with Peters, I think they still have enough to take care of East Hartford. The defense played another very strong game, holding the Yellow Jackets to just 10 points. But now, John, you look ahead in that Double L semifinal match, and they get number 7 West Haven. That's a whole different beast right there, especially after the beatdown that the Westies put on Shelton in that quarterfinal game.
A lot of big scores last night, some surprise scores last night, but nothing smacked me across the face like West Haven beating down Shelton like that. I went because we didn't have a game that night. When West Haven hosted Shelton on October 27th. One of the best high school football games I've seen. Had everything. You had a defensive lineman strip a running back and return the ball 40 yards for a touchdown. You had a pick six by West Haven. You had some acrobatic plays on both sides of the ball. You had Shelton get a field goal, and then Jeff Roy go against the norm. Normally they say, don't take points off the board. You know you have those points. Keep them in your pocket. West Haven gets called for roughing the kicker after a field goal that's good. They take the points off the board and score what ended up really being the decisive touchdown in that game. 38-28, Shelton wins, and you talk about a team using a negative as a driving force. I have to think that game, because there was a tremendous amount of disappointment evident on West Haven's side after that game. That game drove them. I think it was a bad draw for Shelton to have to face West Haven exactly a month after that 38-28 game.
We were on the air around the third quarter, and we looked down at our screens, and it was a tight game. West Haven was in control, but all of a sudden it became a 20-point gap, and both of us looked at each other like, oh, what just happened? How did it flip this quickly? And after that, it was the snowball effect. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse for the Gales.
But you fall farther behind, and you have to try to make quick strikes. You try to make quick strikes, you throw picks, you fumble snaps, you make mistakes because the pressure is increasing and you're asking players to extend themselves. You really want to keep inside yourself and do what you can do. And I think West Haven just overstretched Shelton last night.
All right, so we saw Darien get a little bit of a dose of a running attack on Thanksgiving when New Canaan got into the eye, tried to play power football, but that's not going to be anything like what you've seen from West Haven. This is power football with incredible speed in the backfield. Athletically, this might be the toughest task, John, I think Darien has faced in their 3-year run as state champions. What kind of a chance are you giving the Blue Wave, assuming they still have Joyce going on Sunday?
I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's a one-score game because I think both teams are going to move the ball. What I will be curious to see is, does West Haven expand on what they normally do? Because they're typically a misdirection team, run the ball first team. But they've got some guys that if you watch them in the 7-on-7 leagues in the summer, when they go out and run spread, and you stand there for 2 months in the summer and say, why don't they run this all year? Because they've got guys who can get up there and get the catches. I think you may see them stretch it a little bit. I think you're going to see a lot of versatility on offense from both sides.
And that, for me, Kev, is why Evan Ivanchek is going to play a huge role in this game. I just think him on the edge right now, you get all those counters. That defensive line for Darien has got to be the biggest factor for the Blue Wave defense.
They do, but it's also the secondary that has to play well, too. It can't just be that front line, that front four. They need to have the secondary to play well. They need the middle linebackers and strong safeties to play well as well. And yeah, that's the big thing. If you can get to the quarterback, of course, you're going to have success, but it's the secondary that needs to step up too. So this is going to be, I think, I agree with you guys. This is going to be a big contest for Darien. What they saw on Thanksgiving was a good contest from New Canaan. This probably will be a little bit of a better team than New Canaan. So this is going to be a tough battle, but boy, wouldn't it be sweet if we saw Darien take on Greenwich in that state final. We finally get to see that matchup that I think a lot of people, especially around this area in Fairfield County, would love to see these two teams battle it out for the state title.
In the other semifinal matchup, I think we're both looking at this, or all three of us, looking at this game, feeling that it's Greenwich's game to lose. If they play like they did last night, it's going to be a difficult day for South Windsor at Cardinal Stadium.
This was not like Greenwich's annihilation of Trumbull or some of these other games where they went out and won by 20, 30 points. But as the season's progressed, they've gotten into some closer games, and they've shown the character and ability to win the close game. And that's what's important here, is they have that experience. They can win the close game like they did last night.
Yeah, and that's so important, especially for a team like Greenwich, because you mentioned those games early on in the season. they're winning games 55-0. You know, that can be a problem for teams that go into the playoffs who haven't experienced, you know, being down,
have to
losing.
face adversity.
You have to face adversity.
Have to.
Absolutely.
Oh, it'll definitely be a lot of fun. That is the Class Double L bracket. Those games Sunday, 12:30 at Greenwich High School and at Darien High School. We're going to take one more break on Nutmeg Sports. When we get back, we've got the other classes to look forward to. A couple of upsets last night and some big games with some possible rivalries coming up Sunday. Next on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Whether you're looking for a great test prep program, tutoring to boost your grades, or a blast-off tour with the college of your dreams, C2 Education is here to help. There is nothing one-size-fits-all about our programs. We offer customized tutoring and test prep for each student. Call us today at 203-423-3328.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
My advice to an 8th grader would be to really investigate all that prep has to offer for you.
Welcome to Prep! Fairfield Prep is announcing an additional exam date of Saturday, December 2nd. Register today at fairfieldprep.org.
We're back on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. Let's go to Class L and their quarterfinal games. We'll start with the 1-8 matchup. Middletown hosting New Canaan. For the 5th straight year in a row, New Canaan has defeated the #1 seed in the Class L tournament. The previous 4 being in the championship game with Windsor, North Haven, and Darien in 2014 and 2013. But it's an incredible run, 12th year in a row. New Canaan has advanced to the state semifinals. Not enough can be said about what they're doing, but what impressed me most out of all of this, how mature Drew Pine played last night. Just so protective of the football, used his feet when he needed to, and New Canaan was set up for success from the beginning of that game.
That one, I expected a little more from Middletown, but I think you've got a New Canaan team that had an awakening, that was put in a position where they had to win to survive. I think Thanksgiving, for whoever wants to put an asterisk on it, what have you, was a confidence builder for them. I think this Massac game is going to be tougher than last night was, and should they survive Massac, that could be whoever of those 4. You cannot go wrong with that.
You really have got the Class L bracket broken down the way it has now for probably 10 of the last 12 years. New Canaan and Massac have become very, very familiar foes. Another New Canaan-Windsor matchup might be a dream, and the Rams eventually are going to probably get tired of seeing the Warriors. But how much fun would it be to see New Canaan and Hand back together in a championship game?
I'm all over that. I would sign up for that one, and I would be there. You have David Mastriani taking over for Steve Filippone. Filippone and Lou Marinelli, basically the deans of Connecticut high school football for years. David has stepped in. He was an assistant coach there, running the whole show now, and he's got them. And they played a Tier 2 schedule in the SCC because they did struggle a little bit, and it's based on prior year's performance. He's got him 10-1 and 1 win away from the state final. That was a great job.
It was not an easy out versus North Haven in their quarterfinal matchup. Windsor taking care of Maloney, but I mean, maybe we're a year away from New Canaan, Daniel Hand. But how much fun would it be if you get Mastrioni and Chris Silvestri with New Canaan and Daniel Hand playing for the state title in the next 2 or 3 years?
That would be such an awesome storyline. The next generation of New Canaan Hand, but the story writes itself.
It would be a lot of fun. So Hand and Windsor, that game is at the Surf Club. Windsor's got to travel on the road on Sunday. New Canaan goes to Massac. Again, there was a lot of expectations on Middletown. A lot of people picked them to win this class. They were the heavy favorite coming in. For me, John, and we've been talking about it since before Thanksgiving, Kevin, you as well, I said if Drew Pine is cautious with the football, they can stay heavy in the run game and limit the number of mistakes he can make. I know he's a Division I prospect, but he's still only a sophomore. Let game manage him. Let him be a game manager. I think this is still New Canaan's class to lose.
I agree. And you look back at the Turkey Bowl, that's when I really said to myself, when we mentioned on the broadcast, that's when we really started to see Drew Pine be that confident, composed quarterback in the pocket. I really saw a different Drew Pine on Thanksgiving morning. I know we've seen him throughout the season scramble a lot throughout the pocket, hold the ball with just one hand. I know, John, you're not happy about
going to comment anymore about that, to be honest with you.
And I was so impressed. You look back at the 2 of those 3rd and long passes. We haven't seen Drew Pine do that. I was so impressed with Drew Pine on Thanksgiving morning to now come back to this. And John, you mentioned a game like that, a win on Thanksgiving morning. I really do think New Canaan is going to continue to roll here in the state tournament because that is a rallying cry as well. You beat your rival on Thanksgiving morning. You shut them out, plain and simply. You beat them to the ground. That just gets the whole team together. That brings the whole town together. And this team is riding high because they got a nice win here in the first round against #1 seed Middletown. I know Middletown maybe would have liked to have a better performance, but what a performance by New Canaan. I really do think they're going to continue this great run after that big win on Thanksgiving morning.
You think if Middletown could do it over, John, they rethink taking down Windsor on Thanksgiving?
I don't know about that, but...
No, it's a tough out, but now you face that Massac monster, and it's a different beast. Massac, obviously, the disappointing loss on Thanksgiving fell down to the 5 seed. This is not a 5th-seeded team in Class L, nor do I think New Canaan is an 8th-seeded team. So,
and is this a team that's fired up because of the fact that they were undefeated going into the night before Thanksgiving and lost to their big rival?
Well, they've
got a point to prove now.
They certainly looked fired up, defeating Fitch 43-7. A little bit of time left here. Let's dive into Class S. Mixed feelings on the way the St. Joe's O'Brien Tech game shook out. As you mentioned last night when we were on the air, O'Brien Tech, an incredible story this season. Nothing for them to hang their heads on. Getting to the postseason is a big accomplishment for this program, and it is putting the right foot forward. St. Joe's right now, just a team on a mission, John. Now you get an interesting matchup in the semifinals. 2 defending runner-ups, one from Class M, one from Class S, St. Joe's and Rocky Hill. I think the Cadets still have enough here, but it's not going to be as easy as round 1.
Oh, no, nothing's going to be that easy. St. Joe's went out, did what it had to do, did it in various ways. We talk again, the team falls behind, they've got to try to force the issue, sets up more turnovers in a game that spirals out of control. Hats off to O'Brien Tech. This is a team that averaged 2-3 wins a year, and then in year 7 of the program, they win the 7-mile trophy on Thanksgiving. They make the states. Just a huge step for them.
All eyes for us, though, Kevin, in this class are St. Joe's and Sonia in the championship game. What a fun matchup that would be. For the Cadets to handle Rocky Hill, what's your big X factor? What do they have to do best in this game?
Feed Jared Malazzi. I think if you can continue to find him and David Summers have been clicking all season long. I think if you continue to find Jared, I think that if he finds himself open and runs his routes, I think there's a great chance that St. Joe's is going to beat Rocky Hill. Now, I don't think they're going to beat them 62-0, but I do think a win like that, 62-0, has to give a little bit of alarm to Rocky Hill. Don't know. I think you look at Rocky Hill going into this game, okay, they put up 62 points. Defense has got to lock up here if you're Rocky Hill. Jared Malazzi. But another X factor who all season long I don't think gets enough credit is Phil Pesmeg, the tight end. That guy is, you look at him as a safety net for David Summers as the quarterback. he relies on Phil Pesmeg. Okay, Malazzi's not open. I can check down and look for Pesmeg. I think Pesmeg is going to be a big X factor in this semifinal game.
He was on the board a couple of times last night. One final question for you guys as we look forward to the weekend ahead. If there was one game you could go to, the must-see game of the weekend, which one is jumping out at you right now?
Oh, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I mean, I like what John said about Darien West Haven. That's an intriguing matchup in the Class WL semifinals. I want to see what New Canaan can do against Massac. I kind of like that matchup over there in Class L.
I'm looking at New Canaan, Massac, but I know we're in FCAC country here. I kind of want to see that Hand Windsor game.
That was going to be mine.
That's the one I want. Yeah, but we're both guys who remember the Hand New Canaan matchups. We know what Daniel Hand can do. We want to see how close they are to there again. That's what it is.
That's true. And this is a Windsor program now who has had the rug pulled out from under them the past few years by a New Canaan squad. You've got to get the feeling that Windsor now, they are just all eyes on that championship game. You know they want New Canaan to be there. So I think it's going to be a motivated squad. What about the 6-7 matchup in Class M? Barlow versus SMSA?
That one intrigues me. The other one that really intrigues me is St. Joe's Rocky Hill.
Yeah, I do think that it's an underrated game, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That game will be played at Trumbull High at 12:30 on Sunday afternoon. Guys, great job today, John. Maybe we'll rope you back in for a little bit more tomorrow. But that's going to do it for this episode of Nutmeg Sports Today. For John Kovac, Kevin Coleman, I'm Frank Granito. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the HAM Network.